Despite the impressive financial success of Mad Max Fury Road, which grossed $378 million and won 6 Oscars, director George Miller was left unsatisfied. In a Q&A session with critics, he expressed his disappointment, saying the best version of this movie is black and white. He went on to explain that nowadays, black and white films are often associated with art movies, which limits their appeal to a wider audience. If it weren't for the interference from the studio, Miller would have ensured that the 4th installment of Australia's renowned post-apocalyptic film franchise shared the same black and white aesthetic as contemporary monochrome films. But this studio interference created one of the most iconic film looks of all time. Eric Whipp, the colorist of Mad Max Fury Road, played a big part in creating that look. When he first met with director George Miller, he got an open brief which was essentially, it should be saturated and graphic, and the night scenes should be blue. The main reason behind this decision is quite interesting. George had been observing post-apocalyptic films for the past 30 years and noticed that they all followed a similar trend of having a bleached and desaturated visual style. And since the studio wouldn't let him make the film in black and white, he and the team were determined not to create just another film that looked like other post-apocalyptic films. Instead, they wanted to explore a different approach that would make the visuals more vibrant and captivating. It was important for them to find a way to infuse the film with a saturated and visually rich aesthetic that would set it apart from the rest. The colorist Eric revisited all the original films in the series as a way to ground himself before starting the project. One key consideration was to ensure that the visuals had a certain grit to them. They aimed to avoid an overly artificial or saturated appearance, opting instead for a rawness in the overall look. One of the techniques employed was the application of sharpness, which enhanced the image and brought out a gritty quality. Each shot was individually sharpened, sometimes with specific areas receiving more emphasis to draw attention. Given that much of the film takes place on the desert road, there was a concern that the visuals could become visually monotonous. This led to the decision to employ a rich and colorful palette, as watching 2 hours of desaturated desert cones would have been dull. Once a rough cut of the film was available, the team examined the scenes and strategized ways to introduce variety in the visuals and differentiate the landscapes and story elements. Throughout the process, the director kept reminding the team to aim for a visual style reminiscent of a graphic novel. The production utilized the Arri Alexa camera in RAW format for shooting the film. To achieve the desired color grading, a LUT was employed to convert the C-Log footage into the P3 color space, incorporating a subtle film emulation effect. They were provided a selection of LUT options, which were carefully tested before making a final choice. Speaking of LUTs, our movie-inspired LUTs and Lightroom profiles help you achieve the Hollywood film look without the Hollywood budget, saving you time and money while providing powerful and guaranteed results. Want your videos and photos to look like Mad Max Fury Road or hundreds of other movies? Check out MovieAlerts.com. The exceptional dynamic range of the Alexa camera proved invaluable for a project like this, reserving details within shots. For most scenes, a basic balance was initially achieved using printer lights, followed by the application of color grading tools. While working with the LUT as a reference, traditional grading tools such as lift, gamma, and gain were utilized. In addition, soft keys were employed to selectively add contrast to specific areas of the image, ensuring that details were retained even in extreme conditions. Every single shot in the film received meticulous attention during the grading process. Director emphasized the concept of eye scan, ensuring that the audience wouldn't have to search the frame to discern the key elements of the image. Each shot was carefully shaped to guide the viewer's gaze towards the important story points within the frame. Techniques like vignettes or selectively shading parts of the frame were employed to draw attention to the focal points. The goal was to create a seamless viewing experience, where changes in levels across cuts went unnoticed. Creating a cohesive visual narrative was crucial for the film. Therefore, the color grading of each scene was approached with a focus on maintaining a connection between them. Whether it was through contrast levels or saturation, there needed to be a sense of flow and continuity. The colorist would often revisit the scenes, watching them with audio to ensure that no important details were overlooked, and that the overall narrative flowed smoothly across different cuts. Just like in any film, one of the primary objectives was to maintain consistent skin tones for the characters across different shots. Occasionally, the team would assist actors who had blemishes or imperfections on a particular shooting day. Since the film was shot over a period of 6 months, it was natural to see changes or blemishes appearing between cuts. In those cases, the team employed face tracking techniques to smooth out the skin and eliminate any acne or imperfections. Considerable attention was also dedicated to enhancing the characters' eyes. Since the film relied heavily on visual expressions rather than extensive dialogue, the actors' performances heavily relied on their eye movements and expressions. Studies show that the human brain tends to focus about 80% of its attention on a character's eyes, so it was crucial to ensure that they appeared clear and vibrant in every shot. The colorist meticulously worked on each individual eyeball, applying techniques like rotoscoping, increasing contrast, and adding sharpness. This approach enhanced the vividness of the character's eyes, effectively drawing the viewer's attention to their performances. In the night scenes, where the predominant color scheme was 95% blue, the skin tones were naturally influenced as well. However, the team deliberately retained 5% of the original colors in those scenes to maintain some variation. Additionally, for storytelling purposes, certain colors such as blood or a green plant were occasionally emphasized to serve specific narrative elements. One of the most challenging aspects of working on Mad Max Fury Road was determining the optimal look for the day-for-night scenes. It was a collaborative effort between the cinematographer, John Seal, and visual effects supervisor, Andrew Jackson, who devised a technique involving shooting the day scenes to stops overexposed. The concept behind this approach was rather straightforward. By intentionally overexposing the footage without losing highlight details, they could adjust the exposure in post-production, apply color grading to achieve the desired night blue look, and selectively enhance shadow details with minimal noise. This process allowed the colorist to create visually striking and high-contrast images, with precise control over where the details were emphasized and where the shadows naturally fell. For nearly every day-for-night shot, extensive rotoscoping was performed, and the sky was replaced to achieve the desired aesthetic. Although it required several months of meticulous work, the resulting look is distinct and visually impactful. One of the more challenging aspects of the film was the grading of the interior driving shots. When shooting in the bright desert sun, it presented a dilemma. If you exposed for the dark interior of the car, the background outside the window would be severely overexposed. The goal was to preserve detail and saturation both inside and outside the car, creating a visually rich and vibrant look. Achieving this required extensive keying and meticulous shape work to ensure that both sides of the exposure maintained their desired qualities. Approaching the shapes involved two main strategies. Firstly, soft shapes were utilized to provide shading and sculpt the image. This helped maintain a smooth transition between the interior and exterior. Secondly, more precise shapes were employed, often requiring intricate tracking and rotoscoping, such as for the eyeballs of the characters. By carefully balancing these techniques, the colorist was able to create a visually captivating and cohesive aesthetic, preserving detail and saturation on both sides of the exposure in the interior driving shots. One of the pivotal scenes in the film is known as redemption. In this particular scene, Max devises a plan and shares it with the other characters. Together, they engage in a thorough discussion, weighing the risks and uncertainties associated with the plan. Ultimately, they reach a decision to proceed, despite the inherent danger involved. The outcome of this plan remains uncertain, adding a significant element of suspense and anticipation to the story. In this particular scene, the team aimed to deviate from the standard blue skies that had been featured in previous action sequences. Instead, they opted to transform the skies in post-production into a slightly stormy and unsettled appearance. While the characters themselves were bathed in full sunlight, a contrasting stormy environment was created in the background. The intention behind this artistic choice was to evoke a sense of uncertainty, leaving the audience unsure whether it would be a pleasant or inclement day. This visual mood complemented the underlying story element of whether the plan would ultimately succeed or fail. Implementing this vision required the replacement of skies in every shot within the scene. Each camera angle necessitated a unique stormy sky to be inserted. From a technical standpoint, the skies had to be meticulously tracked to match the background of each shot and positioned behind the characters, demanding considerable attention to detail. However, the efforts invested in this meticulous work ultimately paid off, resulting in a visually impactful and atmospheric scene. Collaboration with the visual effects team played a significant role in the production of this film. The movie incorporates a substantial number of visual effects shots, ranging from simple wire rig removal to the creation of computer-generated backgrounds, and notably the depiction of the toxic storm. Having access to mats for each visual effects shot proved invaluable as it allowed for precise control over specific areas of the composited image. For instance, in the case of a green screen shot featuring Max with the background being composited, having a mat for Max enabled the colorist to make independent adjustments to his character, separate from the background. This streamlined workflow significantly contributed to time-saving measures throughout the post-production process. If you want to color grade like Hollywood movies, check out our LUTs and Lightroom profiles. And if you want to level up your color grading even more, check out our color grading course. Link for both is in the description. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more content like this. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.